For years, Cupertino has managed to keep its biggest iPhone surprises hidden until launch day, but in 2026, that carefully controlled playbook is under more pressure than ever. A massive cyber attack on one of Apple's key Indian suppliers has reportedly exposed internal photos, detailed component lists, and sensitive supplier data for the upcoming iPhone 18 Pro, months before its official reveal. Imagine this. Deep in the supply chain, far away from Apple's pristine campus and perfectly staged keynotes, thousands of internal files are quietly moving across servers every day. Schematics, test photos, supplier contracts, lists of the tiny parts that all come together to form a new iPhone. Now imagine more than 200,000 of those files suddenly leaking onto the dark, or if that's exactly what appears to have happened. According to Reuters, a ransomware group has successfully targeted Tata Electronics, one of Apple's major manufacturing partners in India. This is the same Tata that Apple has been relying on as it shifts more iPhone production out of China and into India, a huge strategic move for the company. So what's actually in this leak? Reuters reports that hackers managed to obtain internal photos of iPhones undergoing drop tests, detailed supplier information for hundreds of iPhone 18 Pro components, documentation for chips, batteries and camera systems, older component design papers for previous iPhones' data tied to parts made for other Tata partners. Including Tesla, the iPhone 18 Pro information is what's drawing the most attention. While Reuters says it couldn't confirm the exact model numbers with absolute certainty, the images reportedly show a familiar-looking device, a gray, slab-shaped iPhone with a triple rear camera setup and the Apple logo in the center. In other words, it looks a lot like the iPhone Pro you'd expect, but the real treasure isn't the external design. It's the internal data. Who's making what, how it's being sourced, and which components might be changing for this generation. Leaks around Apple products are nothing new. We see supply chain rumors, CAD renders, and blurry factory photos almost every year. But this situation is different for a few key reasons. First, the scale. This isn't a single photo or one internal slide. It's more than 200,000 files reportedly circulating on the dark web. That's an entire internal ecosystem laid bare. Second, the depth of detail. Component lists, supplier names, and engineering documents go far beyond what a typical leaker or case manufacturer might see. This kind of information can reveal new chip configurations and performance targets, battery capacities and suppliers, camera sensor details, and lens suppliers' potential new hardware features long before Apple is ready to talk about them. Third, the timing. The iPhone 18 lineup is widely expected to be a major milestone release, with bigger generational jumps in performance, AI features, and camera capabilities. Having highly detailed behind-the-scenes data leak this early can shape expectations and competitors' strategies well before launch. Over the last few years, Apple has been aggressively diversifying its manufacturing footprint. One of the biggest moves has been pushing a significant portion of iPhone production into India. Tata Electronics has been central to that strategy. It assembles iPhones, works closely with Apple on components, and plays a key role in Apple's long-term plan to make India a true alternative to China for manufacturing. This breach throws a harsh spotlight on a major risk in that strategy: supply chain security. When sensitive files from India-based facilities start surfacing on the dark web, Apple is forced to confront uncomfortable questions. How secure are its partners' systems in practice? What kind of cybersecurity standards are being enforced and audited? Could future product launches be compromised before they even reach final assembly? Neither Apple nor Tata has publicly commented on Reuters' findings so far. But behind the scenes, it's almost certain there are urgent calls, crisis meetings, and security reviews happening right now. The leak also hints at what we might expect from the iPhone 18 Pro. While the full trove of documents isn't public, the nature of the data strongly suggests insights into three critical areas: chips, battery, and camera. On the chip side, supplier and component data often reveal next-gen A-series processors, coprocessors, and connectivity modules. That could include details about Apple's new flagship SoC, its AI acceleration hardware, and updated modem technology designed for faster networks and more advanced on-device processing. On the battery side, internal paperwork can point to larger capacities tuned for AI and camera-heavy use, new battery chemistry aimed at longer lifespans improved, power management strategies to balance performance and efficiency on the camera side, supplier lists and component codes can reveal higher resolution sensors in which companies are making them larger sensors for better low-light photography new. Telephoto or periscope systems for improved zoom more. Advanced stabilization hardware to feed into Apple's computational photography, the leaked drop test. Photos serve another quiet purpose. They suggest that Apple is already quite far along in durability testing. These tests typically happen when the external design is locked or nearly finalized. That means large portions of Apple's internal testing pipeline for the iPhone 18 Pro may now be visible to anyone digging through the leaked data. Stepping back, this isn't just a story about one phone. It's a story about how ransomware groups and cyber criminals are targeting the supply chains of the world's biggest tech companies instead of going directly after Apple, which is notoriously difficult to breach. Attackers go after partners and vendors. These companies may not have the same level of resources or hardened infrastructure, yet they still handle design files, engineering documentation, and confidential roadmaps. In this case, the hackers stole data from Tata Electronics. More than 200,000 files began circulating on the dark web. The Trove reportedly includes documents for older iPhone components, Tesla parts, and information tied to the upcoming iPhone 18 Pro. Once those files reach the dark web, they're effectively out of anyone's control. Competitors, analysts, hobbyists, and malicious actors can all dig into the same pile of data. That's bad news for Apple, for Tata, and for any brand that relies heavily on tightly guarded trade secrets. All of this clashes with Apple's preferred way of launching products. The company thrives on surprise. Its marketing strategy is built around controlled anticipation, headline-grabbing announcements, and carefully timed reveals. A few rumors and renders can even help build hype. But a massive, uncontrolled cyber breach is different. It threatens the timing, the narrative, and the sense of newness Apple wants for each product cycle. If detailed component lists, supplier contracts, and engineering documents continue to be prime targets, several things could change. More aggressive legal and takedown efforts aimed at platforms, sharing leaked technical material, stricter and more expensive cybersecurity, requirements pushed onto suppliers and manufacturing, partners even tighter compartmentalization of prototypes, test units, and internal testing procedures, launch presentations that have to adapt to features already discussed publicly because of leaks. There's also the human side inside Apple and its partners. Engineers, designers, and factory teams do their work assuming it's confidential, knowing that prototypes, test photos, and internal documents could be exposed at any moment, changes how people share files, how they collaborate, and even how much detail they put into written communication. For Apple fans and the wider market, this breach could cut both ways. On one hand, it fuels even more interest in the iPhone 18 Pro, as leakers and analysts try to reconstruct the device from the exposed data. On the other, it may blunt the impact of Apple's official reveal. Some of the biggest hardware changes and behind-the-scenes innovations could be known, or at least strongly suspected, long before the keynote. For rival brands, detailed supplier and component information is valuable intel. It can be used to benchmark internal roadmaps against Apple's next flagship speed-up features originally planned for later generations, adjust launch windows, marketing angles, and pricing to better compete with what Apple is preparing for regular consumers. The story is a reminder that the devices we buy are the endpoint of an enormous, fragile global network. Factories, logistics hubs, testing labs, and design centers are all connected and vulnerable. A breach at one supplier can cascade across multiple brands. One of the biggest unknowns now is the future relationship between Apple and Tata Electronics. Up to this point, Tata has been central to Apple's India strategy. This leak doesn't automatically end that relationship, but it does put new pressure on it.